Have you ever built a wall around your heart? Not to keep others out, but to lock your own pain in? To swear you'd never let love or hope touch you again? This is the story of a man who turned his heart to ice to survive, and a woman whose quiet courage melted it, even as the world tried to tear them apart. A story where love isn't just a feeling, it's a battle, a sacrifice, and a redemption. In the wild, unforgiving world of werewolves where strength is law and survival is everything, Elias Thorne stands as the unyielding alpha of the Blood Moon Pack. A warrior whose heart was shattered by loss, he's vowed never to love again. But fate and a shadowy council have other plans. Enter Seraphina and Omega. From a broken pack, her spirit as delicate as a wildflower, yet fierce enough to defy a curse that could destroy them both. A dark magic binds her soul. A deadly ritual threatens their lives. And a love forbidden and unstoppable might just be their only salvation. This isn't just a tale of wolves and wars. It's about finding the courage to heal, the strength to trust, and the power to love when every instinct screams to run. Buckle up, this journey will grip your heart and never let go. Picture this, you're standing on a jagged mountain ridge, the air sharp with the scent of burnt pine and fresh blood. The wind howls like a grieving beast, and there alone against the vastness is Elias Thorne. He's not the kind of hero you'd see strutting through a Hollywood blockbuster. All charm and one-liners. No, Elias is raw, real, a man carved by pain. Years ago, he held his mate Lyra as her life slipped away in his arms. I can still see it, her blood staining the snow, her eyes fading, and Elias helpless, his heart breaking with every shallow breath she took. Lyra was more than his love. She was his reason to hope, to laugh, to dream of a pack united not just by strength but by heart. When she was taken, Elias buried that heart. He caged the wild yearning wolf inside him, the one that craved connection, and became the Ice Alpha, a leader who ruled with iron control, never weakness. But late at night, when the moon hung heavy, he'd hear that wolf's faint howl, a reminder of the loneliness he'd never admit. Then came Seraphina. She wasn't a warrior or a rebel with a cause. She was an Omega from the Shadowfang Pack, a place where cruelty reigned and hope was a whisper. Seraphina was like a soft breeze in a storm, gentle but unyielding. She sketched flowers in secret, tended to wounded pups, and carried a secret so dark it could kill. Her father, Alpha Kale, had cursed her very soul, and a council's decree forced her into Elias's world as his mate. But this was no fairy tale arranged marriage. It was a collision of fire and ice, of two souls who didn't know they needed each other. Scene: Seraphina steps into the Blood Moon Pack's grand hall, her simple dress stark against the grim warriors. Elias's alpha aura pulses, but she meets his gaze unflinching, and slowly picks up a silver collar from the stone floor, fastening it herself. The hall falls silent, and Elias's eyes flicker with something new. Curiosity, maybe even respect. This is the story of Elias and Seraphina, a broken alpha who swore off love and an omega who refused to be broken. Together, they'll face dark magic, brutal battles, and the ghosts of their pasts. But more than that, they'll discover that true strength isn't in claws or commands. It's in the courage to let someone in to fight for them, even when the odds are impossible. Think of it like The Notebook meets Twilight, but with higher stakes and deeper scars. So, are you ready to dive into the wilds of the Blood Moon Pack, to feel every heartbeat, every sacrifice, every moment of love reborn? Stick with us for the next 2 hours, because this story will pull you in, break your heart, and put it back together. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Elias Thorne's Frozen Heart, the trauma that shapes an alpha. Welcome to the wilds of the Blood Moon Pack, where the air carries the sharp tang of pine and the weight of unspoken pain. This is where we meet Elias Thorne, the alpha, whose name echoes like a storm through the mountains. But Elias isn't the kind of hero you'd expect from a Hollywood epic, no dazzling smiles or easy charm here. He's a man forged in loss, a leader who's turned his heart to ice to keep his pack alive. Today we're diving into the wound that made him the Ice Alpha, the trauma that still haunts his every step, and why his story might feel closer to your own than you think. Let's start with Elias, as he stands now, a towering figure. Eyes like chips of obsidian commanding a pack that thrives on his strength. But beneath that iron control, there's a story, a scar that runs deeper than any claw could cut. Years ago, Elias wasn't the Ice Alpha. He was a man in love, bound to his mate, Lyra, a woman whose laugh could light up the darkest nights. Lyra was his heart, his reason to believe in a world beyond battles and blood. She was the kind of person who'd weave wildflowers into her hair and sing to the pups, making even the grimmest warriors smile. Together, they dreamed of a pack united not just by survival, but by hope. But dreams like that, they're fragile. One brutal night, an enemy pack struck, and Lyra was caught in the crossfire. Elias fought like a beast to reach her, but he was too late. He held her as her life bled out, her warmth fading against the cold snow. Her last breath was a whisper of his name, and with it something in Elias broke. Imagine that moment, the person you love most gone, and all you can do is scream into the void. That's the kind of pain that doesn't just hurt. It reshapes you. Let's pause here to unpack this. Elias's loss isn't just a plot point. It's a mirror to something we've all felt at some point, grief so heavy it feels like it'll crush you. Psychologists call this kind of trauma a shattering event, like when someone loses a spouse or a child. Studies like those from the American Psychological Association show that grief can lead to emotional shutdown as a defense mechanism. For Elias, that shutdown was literal. He caged his inner wolf, the vibrant, impulsive part of him that loved freely and built a fortress around his heart. He became the Ice Alpha, a leader who saw love as a weakness, a crack in the armor that could cost his pack everything. Now you might be thinking, isn't that a bit extreme, locking away your emotions to lead? But think about it. Haven't we all done this in some way? Maybe you've buried your feelings after a breakup, telling yourself you'll never trust again. Or maybe you've pushed through pain at work, pretending everything's fine to stay strong for others. Elias's story is larger than life, but it's also human. He's like Tony Stark in Iron Man. Before he learned to open up, a man hiding his wounds behind a suit of control. The difference: Elias's suit is his alpha aura, a cold wave that makes even his warriors flinch. Let's look at a real-world example. Consider firefighters or soldiers, heroes who face trauma head-on. Many, as reported in outlets like NPR, struggle with PTSD, bottling up their pain to keep serving. Elias is like them, carrying the weight of his pack's survival on his shoulders. But here's where maybe we go wrong. A common mistake in stories like this and in life is thinking strength means never feeling. The original tale we're building on. It skimmed over Elias's grief, giving us just a glimpse of Lyra's death. That's a missed opportunity. By rushing past the pain, you lose the chance to connect with the character. We're not doing that here. We're lingering in that moment, letting you feel the snow, the blood, the silence, after Lyra's gone, because that's what makes Elias real. So what's the lesson? Hiding your pain might keep you standing, but it doesn't make you whole. Elias learned this the hard way. His pack survived under his iron rule, but it was a cold survival, all discipline, and no warmth. His warriors respected him, feared him, but they didn't know him. And deep down, Elias didn't know himself anymore. He'd locked away the part of him that laughed with Lyra, that believed in something bigger. His wolf, once a force of passion, was now a caged beast howling in the dark. It's a stark reminder: when you bury your heart, you bury your strength too. But here's where the story turns. Elias thought his frozen heart was his greatest weapon, a shield against the world. Then came a whisper of change. A woman named Seraphina and Omega, with a spirit like a wildflower pushing through stone. She wasn't part of his plan, and neither was the council's decree that bound them together. What happens when an alpha who's sworn off love meets someone who refuses to be invisible? That's where we're headed next, into the quiet strength of Seraphina the Omega, who's about to shake Elias's world to its core. So hold tight. We're about to meet a woman who's not what she seems, whose gentle hands and defiant heart will challenge everything Elias believes. Will she be the key to thawing his frozen soul, or the spark that burns it all down? Let's find out in Chapter 2, Seraphina's Silent Strength. Chapter 2, Seraphina's Silent Strength. The Omega who defies expectations. Last time we met, Elias Thorne, the Ice Alpha of the Blood Moon, pack a man whose heart was frozen by the loss of his mate Lyra. His story showed us how pain can build walls we think will protect us. But today, we're stepping into the light of a very different soul. Seraphina and Omega, whose gentle spirit hides a strength that could shake mountains. She's not the hero you'd expect in a world of snarling wolves, but sometimes the quietest voices carry the loudest power. Let's dive into her story, uncover the fire beneath her calm, and see why she's about to turn Elias's world upside down. Seraphina comes from the Shadow Fang Pack, a place where hope is as scarce as sunlight. Her father, Alpha Kale, rules with a cruel hand, his pack crumbling under his volatile temper. In this world, Omegas are seen as the lowest rung, expected to bow, to serve, to fade into the background. But Seraphina, she's different. She's small, with hands that tremble under pressure, but those hands weave beauty from pain. She sketches wildflowers in secret, tends to wounded pups when no one's watching, and carries a stillness that feels like a rebellion all its own. She's not loud or defiant in the way you might imagine a hero. Her strength is in her refusal to break even when the world demands it. Let's go back to her roots to understand her. Growing up under Kale's shadow, Seraphina learned early that survival meant staying invisible. Yet even as a child, she found ways to resist. She'd sneak into the pack's gardens at night, planting seeds in defiance of Kale's neglect, creating tiny patches of life in a place of death. Those gardens were her sanctuary, her way of saying, "I'm still here." Her sketches, too, were acts of quiet rebellion, delicate lines of flowers and animals drawn on scraps of cloth, hidden from her father's wrath. Each stroke was a whisper of hope, a reminder that beauty could survive even in the darkest places. Now, let's unpack what makes Seraphina's strength so special. In the werewolf world, Omegas are often dismissed as weak, their role reduced to supporting others. But Seraphina flips that script. Her power isn't in physical might or loud defiance. It's in her empathy, her persistence, her ability to see beauty where others see despair. Psychologists might call this resilient adaptation, a trait seen in people who thrive despite adversity. Think of someone like Rosa Parks, whose quiet refusal to give up her seat sparked a revolution. Seraphina's not leading marches, but her small acts, planting a flower, comforting a child, are just as radical in a pack that thrives on fear. Here's a real-world parallel. Consider teachers or nurses, unsung heroes, who change lives through steady, compassionate work. Articles in outlets like the New York Times often highlight how these professionals, despite being undervalued, hold communities together. Seraphina's like them, her gentle touch mending wounds no one else notices. When she arrives at the Blood Moon Pack bound to Elias by a council's decree, she doesn't cower. Instead, she helps a stressed healer with herbs, mends a fishing net during a storm, and comforts a pup who scraped his knee. These aren't grand gestures, but they ripple, softening the edges of a pack hardened by Elias's rule. But let's talk about a common mistake in stories like this, and in life. Too often characters like Seraphina are reduced to stereotypes, the fragile damsel or the saintly savior. The original tale we're expanding. It gave us glimpses of her kindness, but didn't dig into her inner world, her fears, her reasons for fighting. That's a missed chance to make her real. We're not doing that here. Seraphina's not perfect. She's terrified of Elias's cold glare, haunted by her father's cruelty, yet she chooses to act anyway. Her courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to keep going despite it. That's what makes her a hero, not just an Omega. So what's the lesson here? Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the quiet resolve to plant a seed, to offer a kind word, to stand tall when the world expects you to kneel. Seraphina's story reminds us that we all have that power, even when we feel small. Like Oprah Winfrey once said, you don't have to be loud to be powerful. Seraphina lives that truth, and her presence in the Blood Moon Pack is already stirring something, a warmth that challenges Elias's icy control, a spark that could either light the way or ignite a storm. But here's where things get complicated. Seraphina's arrival isn't just a personal challenge for Elias. It's part of a larger game. The Lyanthrop Council, a shadowy group of werewolf leaders, has forced this bond, tying her to Elias for reasons that go beyond love. Behind it all lurks Alpha Kale, whose dark ambitions threaten more than just his daughter. What's driving this decree, and how will it pull Elias and Seraphina into a web of power and betrayal? That's where we're headed next, into the political undercurrents that could tear their world apart. So stay with us. We're about to unravel the Council's plans, uncover Kale's sinister motives, and see how a forced bond sets the stage for a battle neither Elias nor Seraphina saw coming. Will they rise together, or will the shadows of politics pull them apart? Let's find out in Chapter 3, The Lyanthrop Council's Decree. Chapter 3, The Lyanthrop Council's Decree. Politics and power in the werewolf world. We've met Elias Thorn, the Ice Alpha, whose frozen heart guards a deep wound, and Seraphina, the Omega, whose quiet strength is already stirring ripples in his world. But their story isn't just about two souls clashing. It's caught in a web of power, ambition, and secrets, spun by forces far beyond their pack. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the Lyanthrop Council, a shadowy group whose decree has bound Elias and Seraphina together, and the cunning Alpha Kale, whose dark motives threaten to unravel everything. Welcome to the politics of the werewolf world, where love is a pawn and trust is a gamble. Let's dive in. The Lyanthrop Council is the closest thing werewolves have to a governing body, a circle of elder alphas and wise pack leaders who meet in secret to keep the peace, or so they claim. Picture a room full of grizzled warriors and sharp-eyed strategists, each carrying the weight of their pack's survival. Their latest decree: forced mate bonds pairing alphas and omegas across rival packs to forge alliances. It's why Seraphina, an Omega from the crumbling Shadowfang pack, was sent to Elias, the unyielding leader of Blood Moon. On the surface, it's a plan for unity, a way to stop the bloodshed that's torn packs apart for decades. But dig deeper, and it smells more like desperation than diplomacy. Let's break this down. The werewolf world is fracturing. Packs like Shadowfang are failing their resources, dwindling their leaders, like Kale growing reckless. The Council's decree is their attempt to stitch this broken tapestry together, forcing bonds to create stability. But here's the catch. These aren't love matches. They're political maneuvers, cold calculations, dressed up as hope. Elias sees it for what it is: a weak-willed plea from elders, too scared to fight. Seraphina, though, she's a pawn in this game, her gentle spirit thrust into a den of wolves who don't trust her. The Council's plan hinges on compliance, but they've underestimated the fire in her heart and the ice in Elias's. Now let's talk about Alpha Kale, Seraphina's father. He's no ordinary villain. Kale is a broad, brutish alpha with eyes that glint like a snake's, always calculating. His pack is dying, torn apart by his own cruelty and bad decisions. Intelligence reports paint him as desperate a man who'd sell his own daughter to claw his way back to power. That's exactly what he's done with Serafina. The council thinks this bond will tame Kale, but Elias suspects a trap, and he's right. Kale's not just handing over his daughter. He's playing a darker game, one that involves secrets we'll uncover soon. His cunning is a stark contrast to Serafina's compassion, making her presence in Blood Moon feel like a spark in a powder keg. Let's ground this in something real. The council's decree is like historical arranged marriages. Think of European royalty in the Middle Ages, where kings wed their daughters to rivals to secure peace. A 2018 BBC article on political marriages notes they often failed because they ignored human emotions, breeding resentment instead of unity. That's the council's mistake here. They're betting on forced bonds to save their world, but they've ignored the hearts involved. Elias with his walled-off soul and Serafina with her quiet defiance aren't pieces on a chessboard, they're people, and people don't bend so easily. Here's where stories like this, and even real life, often stumble. A common pitfall is treating politics as a backdrop, a vague excuse for drama. The original tale we're building on, it mentioned the council's decree, but didn't explore why it exists or what's at stake. That's like watching Game of Thrones without understanding the Iron Throne's pull. We're not skimming here. The council's desperation, Kale's scheming, the fracturing pacts, they're the heartbeat of this conflict. Without them, Elias and Serafina's bond is just a romance. With them, it's a battle for survival, a test of whether love can outshine power. So what's the lesson? Power always comes with strings attached. The council's decree might promise peace, but it's built on control, not trust. Kale's ambitions might look like strength, but they're rooted in fear. In life, we see this too. Think of workplace politics or family expectations, where decisions made for the greater good often ignore the human cost. The council's plan is a reminder. Forcing connection without understanding hearts is a recipe for chaos. Elias and Serafina are about to learn that the hard way, caught in a scheme that's more dangerous than either realizes. But here's the twist. Kale's not just a schemer, he's a sorcerer of sorts, wielding a dark magic that binds Serafina in ways no one expected. The council's decree was meant to unite, but Kale's turned it into a weapon, a curse that could destroy Elias from the inside out. What is this magic, and how will it test the fragile bond forming between our Alpha and Omega? That's where we're headed next, into a world of shadows and spells that will push Elias and Serafina to their limits. So hold on tight. We're about to uncover the dark magic lurking in Kale's heart, a curse that threatens to tear Elias and Serafina apart before they can even begin. Will they see through the deception, or will the shadows claim them first? Let's find out in Chapter 4, The Curse of the Omega Bond. Chapter 4, The Curse of the Omega Bond. Dark Magic and Its Consequences. We've journeyed through the icy heart of Elias Thorne, the quiet fire of Serafina, and the tangled web of the Lyanthrop Council's decree. But now we're stepping into the shadows, where a darker force lurks, a curse woven by Alpha Kale that threatens to destroy everything Elias and Serafina might become. This isn't just a story of love or politics anymore. It's a battle against a magic so sinister it could unravel their very souls. Welcome to the heart of the Omega Bond's curse, where hope hangs by a thread, and courage is the only light. Let's uncover this darkness together. Let's start with the moment everything changes. Elias, already wary of the council's forced mate bond, senses a trap when Serafina arrives. He's right, but not in the way he expects. Alpha Kale. Serafina's father hasn't just sent his daughter as a political pawn, He's bound her Omega essence, her very spirit, to himself through dark magic. This isn't a fairy tale spell or a harmless charm. It's a curse, a twisted knot of power that activates when Elias tries to claim Seraphina as his mate. The moment he reaches for her, a searing pain rips through him like fire and ice tearing at his soul. His wolf, already caged by years of grief, howls in agony, trapped in a torment that could kill him. Now let's break down what this curse is. In the werewolf world, an Omega's essence is their core, the source of their empathy, their ability to heal and connect. It's what makes Seraphina's quiet acts of kindness so powerful. Kale, desperate to cling to power, used forbidden rituals to tie her essence to his own, ensuring she could never truly bond with another. When Elias attempts the mate bond, the curse lashes out, feeding on his alpha strength, draining him from the inside. It's not just physical pain, it's emotional, a cruel echo of the loss he felt with Lyra. For Seraphina, it's a prison chaining her to her father's will, robbing her of freedom, even as she stands in Elias's pack. Let's make this clear with an analogy. Imagine a hacker planting a virus in a computer system. It lies dormant until you try to access a critical file. Then it corrupts everything. That's Kale's curse, a hidden trap that turns a sacred bond into a weapon. Elias feels it as a constant ache, a weight that makes every breath a struggle. Seraphina, though, feels it differently, a suffocating pull like a leash yanking her back to her father's cruelty. This curse isn't just about pain. It's about control, about Kale's refusal to let his daughter go, even at the cost of her life. To ground this in reality, think of toxic relationships, where one person manipulates another to maintain power. Psychologists, as noted in articles from Psychology Today, describe this as coercive control, where someone uses emotional or psychological tactics to dominate. Kale's curse is a magical version of this, binding Seraphina's spirit to keep her under his thumb. It's like a real-world case of a controlling parent who sabotages their child's independence. Think of stories covered by outlets like CNN about families torn apart by manipulation. Kale's not just a villain, he's a predator using magic to enforce his will. Now let's talk about where stories like this often go wrong. A common mistake is treating magic as a plot device without explaining its rules or stakes. The original tale we're expanding. It mentioned the curse but didn't dive into its mechanics or emotional toll, making it feel like a convenient obstacle. That's like throwing a dragon into a story without explaining why it's there. We're not doing that. This curse is personal. It's Kale's betrayal of his daughter, a violation of the Omega's sacred role, and a mirror to Elias's fear of vulnerability. It's not just a hurdle, it's the heart of their struggle, a test of whether they can break free from the past. So, what's the lesson here? Power, when twisted, destroys more than it builds. Kale's curse might give him control, but it's poisoning his daughter's future and threatening an alpha who could be his ally. In life, we see this when people cling to power at the expense of relationships. Think of bosses who micromanage or leaders who silence dissent. The curse reminds us that true strength lies in letting go and trusting others, not chaining them. For Elias and Seraphina, this means facing a choice: fight the curse together, or let it tear them apart before their bond can even begin. But here's where hope flickers. Seraphina, despite the curse, isn't sitting idle. She's already weaving herself into the Blood Moon pack, her gentle acts softening hearts hardened by Elias's rule. Her presence is a challenge not just to Elias but to the curse itself. Can her quiet strength start to mend a pack and maybe even an alpha before the darkness consumes them? That's where we're headed next, into the slow, beautiful transformation. Seraphina sparks in a world of ice and stone. So stay with us. We're about to see Seraphina step into her power, not with claws or shouts, but with kindness that could change everything. Will her light reach Elias's frozen heart, or will the curse tighten its grip? Let's find out in Chapter 5, Serafina's Integration. Chapter 5, Serafina's Integration. Transforming the Blood Moon Pack. We've walked through Elias's frozen heart, felt the fire of Serafina's quiet strength, navigated the Council's schemes, and faced the chilling grip of Kale's dark curse. Now we're stepping into a softer light, where small acts of kindness begin to thaw a pack hardened by years of cold survival. This is the story of Serafina's integration into the Blood Moon Pack, not as a pawn or a prisoner, but as a spark of change. Her gentle touch is stirring hearts, challenging Elias's iron rule, and maybe, just maybe, planting the seeds of something new. Let's see how a single Omega can shift the tide in a world of wolves. When Serafina first arrived at Blood Moon, she was an outsider, a fragile Omega, bound by a council's decree and a silver collar that burned her skin. Elias saw her as a nuisance, a symbol of weakness in his tightly controlled world. His pack, loyal but grim, mirrored his distrust, their eyes cold as they watched her every move. But Serafina didn't shrink under their stares. Instead, she did what she's always done. She created life where there was none. She started small, helping a healer sort herbs during a chaotic night, her steady hands calming a frantic moment. She mended a torn fishing net when a storm threatened the pack's food supply, her fingers deft despite the wind's bite. She even knelt beside a pup with a scraped knee, wrapping his wound with her own cloth, her soft words easing his tears. Let's unpack why these acts matter. In a pack like Blood Moon, survival is everything: hunting, fighting, enduring. Kindness isn't a priority, it's a luxury, or so Elias believed. Serafina's actions, though, aren't just kind. They're strategic in their own way. Each gesture builds trust, not through force, but through care. She's like a gardener tending a barren field, planting seeds of connection that sprout slowly but surely. Her presence challenges the pack's rigid culture, showing that strength can be gentle, that leadership can be compassionate. It's not loud or flashy, but it's powerful, like a river carving a canyon over time. To make this real, think of community organizers or volunteers who transform neighborhoods with small, consistent efforts. A 2120 article from the Washington Post highlighted how local leaders, like those in community gardens, rebuild trust in divided areas through shared work. Serafina's like them, her quiet contributions knitting the pack together. When a warrior named Taryn, skeptical of her at first, nods in thanks after she helps his sister with a balm, it's a crack in the pack's armor. When an elder Mara smiles at Serafina's sketches of their mountains, it's a sign of acceptance. These moments aren't dramatic, but they're the foundation of change, turning the gift, as the pack first called her, into the quiet one, a name spoken with grudging respect. Now let's look at Elias. He's watching all this, and it unsettles him. Serafina's kindness grates against his belief that weakness invites ruin. Yet he can't ignore the shift in his pack, the way warriors stand a little less rigid, the way pups linger near her, drawn to her warmth. His wolf, caged, for years, stirs with a low hum, a feeling he pushes down but can't erase. It's not love, not yet, but it's curiosity, a dangerous crack in his icy fortress. The curse, too, complicates things, its pain flaring whenever Serafina's near a reminder of Kale's trap. Elias wants to dismiss her to keep his distance, but her presence is like a melody he can't unhear. Here's where stories and life often miss the mark. A common mistake is rushing character integration, making it feel forced or instant. The original tale we're building on, It, showed Serafina's kindness, but didn't linger on its impact, jumping too quickly to the curse's drama. That's like planting a seed and expecting a tree overnight. We're not rushing here. Serafina's integration is gradual, earned through moments that build trust organically. It's not about her winning everyone over instantly. It's about the slow thaw of a pack that's forgotten how to feel. This makes her transformation and the pack's real relatable something you can believe in. So, what's the lesson? Change doesn't always come with a roar. Sometimes it's the steady drip of kindness, the courage to care when no one else does. Serafina's story echoes what people like Martin Luther King Jr. believed, that love and its quiet persistence can overcome even the hardest hearts. Her acts remind us that we all have the power to shift our world, whether it's a smile to a stranger or a helping hand at work. For Blood Moon, she's not just an Omega. She's a mirror showing them what they could be if they dared to soften. But this transformation is only the beginning. Serafina's kindness is a light, but the curse's shadow looms larger. To break it, she'll need more than empathy. She'll need a strength that could cost her everything. A ritual ancient and perilous waits on the horizon, one that will test her resolve and force Elias to confront his deepest fears. Can Serafina's quiet power rise to meet this challenge, or will the curse claim them both? That's where we're headed next, into a moment that will redefine them forever. So hold tight. We're about to witness Serafina face her greatest trial, a ritual that could free her soul or shatter it. Will she and Elias find the courage to fight together, or will the curse's darkness pull them apart? Let's find out in Chapter 6, The Omega Reclamation Ritual. Chapter 6, The Omega Reclamation Ritual. Serafina's ultimate sacrifice. We've journeyed through Elias's icy walls, Serafina's quiet fire, the council's tangled schemes, the curse's dark grip, and the slow thawing of the Blood Moon pack. Now we're standing at the edge of a precipice, where a single step could either free our heroes or shatter them forever. This is about courage, in the face of impossible odds, and a bond that's starting to feel like destiny. Let's dive into this pivotal moment together. Let's set the stage. The curse binding Serafina's Omega essence to her father, Alpha Kale, is tightening its hold. Elias is weakening his alpha strength, drained by the curse's relentless pain, a torment that flares whenever Serafina's near. Serafina too feels its weight, a suffocating leash that ties her to Kale's cruelty, stealing her freedom. But hope isn't lost. Rorik Elias's loyal beta uncovers an ancient solution, the Omega Reclamation Ritual, a dangerous ceremony that could sever Kale's magical hold and restore Serafina's essence. It's their only chance to break the curse, but it comes with a cost that could break them both. And now let's unpack this ritual. The Omega Reclamation Ritual is no simple spell. It's an ancient practice rooted in the werewolf world's oldest traditions, designed to reclaim an Omega's spirit from unnatural bonds. It requires Serafina to channel her will, her very soul, through sacred chants and herbs, drawing on the strength of her ancestors. The catch: it's excruciating, stretching her essence to its breaking point, with no guarantees she'll survive. For Elias, it means standing by helpless, as the woman he's starting to see risks everything. The ritual will weaken Kale, creating an opening to confront him, but it's Serafina who bears the brunt, her life on the line, to save them all. To make this clear, imagine a surgeon performing a high-risk operation. One wrong move, and the patient's lost. That's the ritual, precise, perilous, and dependent on Serafina's resolve. Her role isn't passive. She must actively fight, summoning a strength that goes beyond physical power. It's a test of her spirit, her courage to reclaim herself from Kale's control. Elias, meanwhile, grapples with a new kind of pain, not the curse's fire, but the fear of losing her, a feeling that echoes Lyra's death and cracks his icy resolve. Their bond, still fragile, grows in this moment, forged in shared peril and mutual sacrifice. Let's ground this in reality. The ritual's stakes mirror real-world acts of sacrifice, like first responders rushing into danger to save others. A 2019 NPR story about firefighters battling wildfires described how they risked their lives driven by duty and belief in a greater good. Serafina's choice is like that, a selfless act not for glory, but for freedom, for Elias, for the pack. Her courage reminds us of people like Malala Yousafzai, who faced death to reclaim her voice, showing that true power lies in standing up, even when the odds are terrifying. Serafina's not fighting for herself alone. She's fighting for a future she's only beginning to believe in. Now let's talk about Elias's role. He's not just a bystander. The ritual forces him to confront his deepest fear: vulnerability. He's spent years believing love is a weakness, a lesson carved by Lyra's loss. But Serafina's willingness to risk everything stirs something in him, a primal urge to protect, to trust, to feel. His wolf-long, caged howls for her a raw connection he can't deny. It's not love yet, but it's a spark, a moment where he sees her not as an omega or a curse, but as a partner. This shift is subtle but seismic, like the first thaw of spring, setting the stage for a bond that could change everything. Here's where stories and life often stumble. A common mistake is treating rituals or climactic moments as quick fixes, glossing over their emotional weight. The original tale we're expanding. It rushed through the ritual, making it feel like a plot device rather than a defining moment. That's like skipping the training montage in Rocky. You lose the heart of the struggle. We're not doing that here. The ritual is Serafina's crucible, a test of her strength and Elias's growth. It's not just about breaking the curse. It's about breaking their fears, their doubts, their pasts. This depth makes their journey resonate, something you can feel in your bones. So what's the lesson? Sacrifice isn't just about giving up something. It's about choosing hope over fear. Serafina's decision to face the ritual, knowing it could kill her, is a testament to her belief in something bigger: freedom, connection, a chance at a real bond. In life, we see this when people take risks for others, like parents working multiple jobs for their kids, or activists facing danger for justice. Serafina's courage reminds us that the greatest acts of strength often come with the greatest cost, but they're worth it for the light they bring. But this ritual is only the beginning of their fight. Breaking the curse means confronting Kale himself, a battle that will test their newfound bond and push them to the edge. The path to freedom is fraught with danger, and the stakes are higher than ever. Can Serafina and Elias stand together against a foe who's wielded darkness for years? Or will their courage falter? That's where we're headed next, into a clash that will define their fate. So, hold on tight. We're about to witness Elias and Serafina face their greatest enemy, a battle where love and strength will be their only weapons. Will they triumph over Kale's darkness, or will the cost of freedom be too high? Let's find out in Chapter 7, The Battle with Kale. Chapter 7, The Battle with Kale, a clash of power and redemption. We've walked through Elias's frozen heart, Serafina's quiet courage, the council's schemes, the curse's dark grip, her gentle transformation of the Blood Moon Pack, and the perilous ritual that pushed her to the edge. Now we're standing in the heart of the storm, where everything, love, freedom, survival, hangs in the balance. This is the moment Elias and Serafina face their greatest foe, Alpha Kale, in a battle that's as much about redemption as it is about power. It's a clash that will test their bond and define their future. Let's dive into this fiery reckoning together. Let's set the stage. The Omega Reclamation ritual is underway. Serafina chanting ancient words, her voice trembling but unbroken as she fights to tear her essence from Kale's dark magic. The ritual's power is weakening Kale, but it's also draining Serafina, her strength fading with every heartbeat. Elias, his body still racked by the curse's pain, stands ready, his wolf roaring for release. They've infiltrated the Shadowfang territory, a place thick with decay and malice, to confront Kale at the ritual site. This isn't just a fight, it's a stand against everything Kale represents: control, betrayal, and a twisted hunger for power. Now let's unpack this battle. Kale is no ordinary adversary. He's a hulking alpha, his presence a storm of cruelty and cunning fueled by the dark magic that's kept his pack and Seraphina under his thumb. As Seraphina's ritual reaches its peak, Kale senses the threat to his control. He's furious, his pride wounded by the idea that his daughter and Omega, he's always dismissed, could defy him. The ritual's light is stripping his power, but he's not going down without a fight. Elias, driven by a mix of rage and a new fierce need to protect Seraphina, steps between them, his alpha strength surging despite the curse's toll. This clash is physical teeth, claws, raw fury, but it's also deeply personal, a battle to reclaim Seraphina's freedom and Elias's heart. To make this clear, imagine a showdown between two forces, one fighting for domination, the other for liberation. Seraphina's role in the ritual is the linchpin, her chance a beacon that weakens Kale's magic, giving Elias the edge he needs. Her courage is the spark, Elias's strength the flame. Together they're not just fighting Kale, they're fighting the curse, the council's manipulations, and their own fears. The ritual's success hinges on Seraphina's will, but the battle's outcome depends on their unity, a bond that's grown from distrust to something powerful, something real. Let's ground this in reality. This battle mirrors real-world struggles where people unite against oppression. Think of the civil rights movement, where leaders like John Lewis faced violent resistance with unwavering resolve, as detailed in a 2020 PBS documentary. Seraphina and Elias are like that. Outmatched, but undaunted, their strength rooted in their shared purpose. Their fight also echoes sports teams pulling together for a comeback, like the 2004 Boston Red Sox breaking the curse of the Bambino against all odds. It's not just about winning, it's about proving that hope and heart can overcome even the darkest forces. And now let's talk about the turning point. As Seraphina's voice rises, the ritual reaches its climax, a burst of pure light shattering the curse's hold. The pain gripping Elias vanishes, his wolf unleashed with a surge of primal power. Kale, stripped of his magical edge, is no match for Elias's fury, a rage fueled by years of grief, and a new fierce loyalty to Seraphina. But it's not just Elias's victory. Seraphina's defiance, her refusal to break, is what makes this possible. Their bond, forged in this moment, becomes a true mate bond, not forced by the council, but chosen, a connection that heals the wounds of Lyra's loss and Seraphina's captivity. It's a redemption, not just of their hearts, but of their faith in each other. Here's where stories and life often miss the mark. A common mistake is making battles all action, no soul, the original tale we're expanding. It skimmed over the emotional stakes, focusing on the fight, without showing how it changes Elias and Seraphina. That's like watching Avengers Endgame without the character arcs. It's hollow. We're not doing that here. This battle is a crucible, transforming their bond from fragile to unbreakable. It's not just about defeating Kale. It's about Elias embracing vulnerability, Seraphina claiming her power, and both choosing love over fear. This depth makes their triumph resonate, a victory you can feel in your chest. So what's the lesson? Unity is stronger than any force, even one as dark as Kale's magic. Seraphina and Elias show us that when we stand together, our weaknesses become strengths. In life, we see this in communities rallying after disasters, like neighbors rebuilding after hurricanes, as reported by outlets like NPR. Their bond reminds us that love, whether romantic, familial, or communal, can conquer even the deepest pain, but only if we're brave enough to fight for it. This victory is a testament to that courage, a light born from darkness. But this battle, though won, is only a step. With Kale defeated and the curse broken, Elias and Seraphina must now lead a pack forever changed by their journey. The Blood Moon Pack is ready for a new dawn, one guided by empathy and strength. How will they shape this future, and what does their love mean for a world still healing? That's where we're headed next, into a chapter of renewal and hope. So stay with us. We're about to see Elias and Seraphina step into their roles as leaders, building a pack where love and strength go hand in hand. Will their bond inspire a new era, or will new challenges test their resolve? Let's find out in Chapter 8, A New Dawn for the Blood Moon Pack. Chapter 8, A New Dawn for the Blood Moon. Pack leadership and love. We've journeyed through Elias's icy grief, Seraphina's quiet courage, the council's schemes, the curse's dark hold, her gentle reshaping of the Blood Moon Pack, the perilous ritual, and the fierce battle that broke Kale's grip. Now we're stepping into a brighter light, where wounds begin to heal, and a pack, once ruled by fear, finds a new heartbeat. This is the story of Elias and Seraphina, leading together their love, not just a bond, but a beacon for a better future. Let's walk into this new dawn and see how love and leadership can rebuild a world. After Kale's defeat, the Blood Moon Pack is forever changed. The curse is gone, its shadow lifted, and Elias stands stronger, his wolf no longer caged, but vibrant, pulsing with a new purpose. Seraphina, free from her father's chains, is no longer just an omega. She's a leader, her quiet strength now a cornerstone of the pack. Together they're reshaping what it means to be Blood Moon. Elias, once the Ice Alpha, now listens his decisions, tempered by empathy. Seraphina, with her artist's heart, brings beauty to the den, her sketches inspiring murals that tell the pack's story, not just of battles, but of hope, unity, and healing. Let's unpack this transformation. Leadership in the werewolf world often means strength through dominance, but Elias and Seraphina are rewriting that rule. Elias still makes tough calls, border disputes, resource allocation, but he seeks counsel, asking warriors like Taryn for insights and elders like Mara for wisdom. Seraphina, as Luna, isn't a silent partner. Her ideas, like communal spaces where pups play and warriors rest, foster connection. Her murals, painted with vibrant wildflowers, remind the pack of their resilience, much like her own. This isn't just governance, it's a partnership, a balance of Elias's resolve and Seraphina's compassion, turning a pack of survivors into a family. To make this real, think of how Seraphina's influence softens the pack's edges. She organizes gatherings where stories are shared, laughter echoes, and even the gruffest warriors join in. Elias, once distant, now sits among them, his presence steady but open. Their leadership is a dance, each step building trust. Seraphina's not erasing Elias's strength. She's enhancing it, showing that a true alpha lifts others up. Elias, in turn, gives her space to shine, his pride in her evident in every nod, every shared glance. Their bond, forged in battle, is now a quiet, steady flame warming the pack from within. Let's ground this in reality. This kind of leadership mirrors real-world examples of collaborative change. Consider community leaders like Jane Addams, who, as noted in a 2019 Smithsonian article, transformed Chicago's poorest neighborhoods through empathy and partnership. Elias and Seraphina are like that, their shared vision knitting a fractured pack together. Their approach also echoes modern companies, like those profiled in Harvard Business Review, where leaders pair strength with emotional intelligence to inspire teams. The pack's new dawn is a testament to this balance, proving that love and leadership in community can heal even the deepest scars. Now let's talk about their bond. Elias and Seraphina aren't just leaders. They're mates, their connection deepening with every shared moment. The silver collar, once a symbol of control, has been melted into two intertwined bands, one on Elias's wrist, one on Seraphina's, a vow of equality and trust. Their love isn't perfect. They argue, they doubt, but they choose each other, learning to navigate the ghosts of Elias's past and Seraphina's pain. This intimacy strengthens their leadership, showing the pack that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the root of true power. The pack sees this and follows their loyalty, no longer born of fear, but of belief. Here's where stories and life often stumble. A common mistake is rushing the aftermath of a big victory, glossing over how characters rebuild. The original tale we're expanding. It ended quickly with a brief nod to their happiness, missing the chance to show how Elias and Seraphina grow as leaders. That's like ending The Lord of the Rings after the ring's destroyed, skipping the Shire's healing. We're not doing that. This chapter lingers on the pack's transformation, the slow, messy, beautiful work of rebuilding. It's not just about Elias and Seraphina's love. It's about a community finding its heart, a story that feels real because it takes time. So what's the lesson? Leadership isn't about control. It's about connection. Elias and Seraphina show us that strength shines brightest when paired with empathy, when we lift others rather than stand alone. In life, we see this in teachers who inspire parents who listen, or friends who show up when it counts. Their story, like Nelson Mandela's belief in reconciliation, reminds us that love and understanding can rebuild what fear has broken. The Blood Moon Pack's new dawn is proof a community thrives when its leaders dare to care. But this new era isn't the end. Elias and Seraphina's journey has shown them and us that vulnerability is a strength, not a flaw. As they lead, they're learning to embrace this truth not just for their pack, but for themselves. What does it mean to lead with an open heart, to love without fear? That's where we're headed next, into a deeper exploration of the power that comes from being truly, bravely open. So stay with us. We're about to dive into the heart of Elias and Seraphina's greatest lesson, where vulnerability becomes their ultimate strength. Will this truth solidify their legacy, or will new tests challenge their openness? Let's find out in Chapter 9, The Power of Vulnerability. Chapter 9, The Power of Vulnerability. Lessons from Elias and Seraphina. We've journeyed through Elias's icy walls, Seraphina's quiet courage, the council's schemes, the curse's dark hold, her gentle reshaping of the Blood Moon Pack, the perilous ritual, the fierce battle with Kale, and the new dawn they've built together. Now we're pausing to look deeper, to uncover the heart of their story, not just a tale of wolves and love, but a lesson about what it means to be truly strong. This is about vulnerability, the courage to open your heart, and how Elias and Seraphina's journey teaches us to do the same. Let's sit by the fire and explore this truth together. Let's start with what vulnerability means in their world. For Elias, it's the opposite of everything he once was. As the Ice Alpha, he saw openness as a flaw, a crack that could shatter his pack's survival. Lyra's death taught him that love leads to pain, so he locked his heart away, ruling with control, not connection. Seraphina, too, knew vulnerability's cost. Growing up under Kale's cruelty, she hid her softness, her sketches, her hope to survive. Yet their journey through the curse, the ritual, the battle changed them. Elias let Seraphina in, risking the pain of loss again. Seraphina stood tall, baring her soul to break the curse, trusting Elias to stand by her. Their vulnerability isn't weakness. It's their greatest strength. Now let's unpack why this matters. Vulnerability in the werewolf world or ours is about showing up as you are, scars and all. For Elias, it's admitting he's not invincible, seeking Seraphina's counsel, and sharing his grief for Lyra with his pack. For Seraphina, it's leading as Luna, not hiding her Omega roots but embracing them, her empathy guiding the pack's healing. Their bond, now a true mate bond, thrives on this openness. They argue, they heal. They grow, showing the pack that strength isn't a mask. It's authenticity. This shift ripples outward, making Blood Moon a place where warriors share fears, pups dream freely, and elders speak truths long buried. To make this real, think of how their vulnerability transforms their leadership. Elias, once distant, now listens to a warrior's doubts, his honesty fostering trust. Seraphina, once silent, shares her sketches, her art sparking joy in a pack that forgot how to smile. Their openness isn't reckless. It's deliberate, a choice to build a community where everyone's voice matters. This isn't just a pack, it's a family bound by the courage to be seen, to be known, to be vulnerable. Let's ground this in reality. Vulnerability is a universal power celebrated by figures like Brené Brown, whose 2010 TED Talk on the subject went viral for a reason. Brown says vulnerability is the birthplace of connection, a truth Elias and Seraphina live. Their story echoes real-world examples like veterans sharing PTSD struggles in support groups, as reported by NPR in 2021, finding strength in honesty. It's like Simone Biles, who stepped back from the 2020 Olympics to prioritize mental health, showing the world that courage means owning your limits. Elias and Seraphina, in their own way, do the same, proving that vulnerability builds bridges where walls once stood. Now let's reflect on their bond. As mates, Elias and Seraphina's vulnerability deepens their love. Elias shares memories of Lyra, not to dwell in pain, but to honor her, letting Seraphina see his heart. Seraphina reveals her fears of failing the pack, trusting Elias to lift her up. This openness isn't easy. It's a daily choice, a risk that strengthens their connection. Their love, forged in adversity, is a testament to what vulnerability can create, a partnership where both are stronger because they're seen, flaws and all. The pack watches, learning that love, like leadership, thrives on truth. Here's where stories and life often stumble. A common mistake is portraying vulnerability as a one-time act, not a journey. The original tale we're expanding. It ended with Elias and Seraphina's victory, hinting at their bond, but not exploring how they sustain it. That's like stopping a movie after the big win, missing the real growth. We're not doing that. Vulnerability is Elias and Seraphina's ongoing work, a practice that shapes their leadership and love. It's not a single moment. It's every moment they choose to be open, making their story relatable, a mirror for our own struggles to be real. So what's the lesson? Vulnerability isn't a flaw, it's the root of strength, connection, and change. Elias and Seraphina show us that opening your heart, even when it's scary, builds something lasting. In life, we see this in friendships that deepen through honest talks, or communities that heal by sharing pain, like post-disaster recovery efforts covered by CNN. Their story, like Maya Angelou's words, "Have enough courage to trust love one more time," reminds us that vulnerability is a gift, one that transforms us and those around us. But their journey isn't over. Elias and Seraphina's embrace of vulnerability has built a pack, a love, a legacy. As they look to the future, their story becomes a beacon not just for Blood Moon, but for all who hear it. What does it mean to leave a mark that outlasts you? To love so fiercely, it changes the world. That's where we're headed next, into the final chapter of their epic tale. So stay with us. We're about to witness the legacy of Elias and Seraphina, a love so powerful it redefines their world. Will their story inspire others, or will new shadows test their light? Let's find out in Chapter 10, A Love Forged in Adversity. Chapter 10, A Love Forged in Adversity. The legacy of Elias and Seraphina. We've walked through Elias's frozen grief, Seraphina's quiet fire, the council's tangled webs, the curse's dark chains, her gentle reshaping of the Blood Moon pack, the perilous ritual, the fierce battle with Kale, their empathetic leadership, and the power of their vulnerability. Now, we're standing at the summit of their journey, where love forged in the crucible of adversity becomes a legacy that lights the way for others. This is the story of Elias and Seraphina's enduring impact, a testament to what's possible when we choose love over fear. Let's gather by the fire one last time and celebrate their forever. Let's begin with where they stand now. Elias and Seraphina are no longer just an alpha and an omega. They're partners, their mate bond, a shining thread that holds the Blood Moon Pack together. Their love, born in the ashes of betrayal and pain, is now a living force, etched into the pack's heart. The pack thrives, its dens filled with laughter, its borders secure, its people united not by fear, but by shared dreams. Elias, once the Ice Alpha, leads with a warmth that honors Lyra's memory while embracing Seraphina's vision. Seraphina, as Luna paints their future with her compassion, her murals and communal spaces, symbols of a pack reborn. Their love isn't a quiet, happily ever after. It's a vibrant, messy, beautiful promise of what's to come. Now let's unpack their legacy. A legacy isn't just what you leave behind. It's what lives on in others. For Elias and Seraphina, it's the Blood Moon Pack's transformation from a fortress of survival to a community of connection. Their leadership, rooted in vulnerability, has changed the werewolf world. The Lyanthrop Council, humbled by Kale's dark magic and the strength of their bond, now recognizes their union as a beacon of hope, not a forced alliance. Elders from distant packs travel to learn from them, inspired by Seraphina's courage and Elias's openness. Their story ripples outward, showing that love can heal divisions, that strength lies in unity, not dominance. To make this real, think of how their legacy shapes the pack's future. Pups grow up hearing tales of the Alpha and Luna who faced a curse and won not with claws but with heart. Warriors train with pride, knowing their leaders value their voices. Seraphina's art, woven into every corner of the den, reminds them of their resilience, like wildflowers blooming through stone. Elias and Seraphina dream of a pack where their children, those little paws they hope for, will inherit a world of possibility, not fear. Their legacy is a living thing, growing with every shared meal, every story told, every moment of trust. Let's ground this in reality. Their story mirrors real-world legacies of love and change. Think of couples like Coretta and Martin Luther King Jr., whose partnership, as detailed in a 2018 NPR feature, fueled a movement that outlasted them. Elias and Seraphina's love, like theirs, inspires. Beyond their time, a reminder that connection can reshape the world. It's also like the legacy of small-town leaders, profiled in the New York Times, who rebuild communities through persistent care. Their bond, forged in adversity, is a universal truth. Love that endures hardship leaves a mark that time can't erase. Now let's reflect on their love. Elias and Seraphina's bond is the heart of their legacy. It's not flawless, they face doubts, fears, the weight of leadership, but it's real, built on choices to be open, to forgive, to grow. Elias, once terrified of loss, now holds Seraphina with a tenderness that honors both her and Lyra's memory. Seraphina, once silenced by Kale, now speaks with confidence, her voice a melody that guides the pack. Their love is a daily act of courage, a vow to face the future together, no matter what comes. It's this love that makes their legacy enduring, a light that shines for others to follow. Here's where stories and life often stumble. A common mistake is ending with a neat bow, ignoring the messy beauty of lasting impact. The original tale we're expanding. It closed with a quick nod to their happiness, missing the chance to show how their love reshapes the world. That's like ending The Notebook, after the kiss in the rain, skipping the life they built. We're not doing that. This chapter lingers on their legacy, the slow, powerful work of inspiring others. It's not just about Elias and Seraphina. It's about the pack, the werewolf world, and us, the listeners who carry their story forward. So what's the lesson? Love, when forged in adversity, is a force that outlives us. Elias and Seraphina teach us that every struggle, every scar, can become a source of light if we choose connection over isolation. In life, we see this in families who heal after loss, communities that rebuild after tragedy, or friendships that endure through time, as seen in stories from outlets like CNN. Their legacy, like Maya Angelou's words, "Love recognizes no barriers," reminds us that love is our greatest legacy, one we build every day with every brave, open-hearted choice. But this isn't the end, it's a beginning. Elias and Serafina's story is now ours, a call to carry their lessons into our lives. Their love, their courage, their vulnerability invite us to ask, what legacy will we leave? What love will we forge in our own adversities? That's where we're headed next, into a final reflection that ties their tale to our hearts and sends us forward with hope. So stay with us for one last moment. We're about to reflect on how Elias and Serafina's love can inspire our own lives, urging us to build legacies of connection and courage. What will you take from their story, and how will you share it? Let's find out in our final reflection.